if AI ever is conscious, it should also have rights. The greatest risk is that in some way we will produce an AI that is super intelligent and that is not aligned with our values. If there is the danger that many people say there is of super intelligent AI taking us over and not being aligned with our values, then wouldn't you want to constrain the speed with which it develops?
I want to ask you about artificial intelligence. Do you feel more that you're concerned at the bad side, or do you see the upside? Is there a balance, or is one going to win?
I think that there is a balance, and I think it's unclear at this stage whether one side is going to win or not. Obviously, we hope that the positive aspects of AI will predominate and that it will relieve us of further mundane tasks that are not particularly pleasant, that it will find us better solutions to cure diseases, to provide the things we need to even make a more harmonious society. And those would be excellent. But there certainly are risks with AI, and perhaps clearly the greatest risk is that in some way we will produce an AI that is super intelligent, more intelligent than us, and that is not aligned with our values, or not aligned with the right values.
Conscious?
I don't believe that AI is conscious now. I don't think there's any real reason to believe that. But I also don't believe that consciousness necessarily requires a biologically evolved organism with exactly the kind of life form that we have and the kind of biological matter in our brains. I think it's at least theoretically possible that you could get consciousness emerging from an artificial intelligence, something made of silicon rather than biological materials. So that's possible. I don't rule it out, but I think we're a long way from it, and not clear that we'll ever get there, or if it may be still quite a long time.
Yeah, but if we do get there, would AI need to have rights?
Absolutely. If we have a conscious being, a sentient being who can suffer or enjoy their life, such beings have rights, just as humans do, and just as I believe a very large number of non-human animals should, because they're also conscious and sentient beings. So I think that if AI ever is conscious, it should also have rights.
Do you detect that the big tech companies, we like to call them tech bros, but they include all the industry, are they seeking a philosophy, do you think? Do they want to pin what they're doing onto a bigger purpose?
Well, I think some of the people involved do. And we saw that with the development of OpenAI, which I think had a more, if you like, background in philosophical thought and even in effective altruism, that this is something that could do a lot of good. But we want to make sure that it's transparent. We want to make sure that it has guardrails, that it doesn't advance too fast before we know that we can align it with our values, with the right values. But we saw what happened with OpenAI, that in order to actually compete with other AI companies, it needed a lot of investment. And those investors wanted to see it advancing as quickly as possible, because otherwise they would lose out to the competition. So the problem that we have there is, yes, there are people with the right thoughts and the right ideas about AI, but we also have a competition between companies, and as you just pointed out, between the AI being developed in different countries. And none of the participants want to lose that competition. So this is, I think, one of the great puzzles about what we should be doing with AI. And whereas previously, I think a lot of people in the effective altruism movement thought, well, we need to do the research to work out how to align the values. Now, I think the big question is, well, even if we could know how to align the values, would the companies align the values in the right way? And how can we get some sort of cooperative agreement, you might call it an international treaty, not to advance with superintelligent AI that is not clearly going to be aligned with our values?
It's fascinating, because that is a very acute collision of effective altruism with artificial intelligence.
I know that the question about AI superintelligence has been very influential in the AI, in the EA, effective altruism movement, that it's occupied a lot of space, and it's particularly occupied a lot of headlines because it's a dramatic kind of issue. You know, AI could take us over, science fiction stuff almost. But I think that EA is still about things like helping people in extreme poverty, reducing the suffering of non-human animals, particularly in factory farms. Those rather more present and immediate questions, I think are very important in the effective altruism movement. And in fact, most of the people that I talk to in the effective altruism movement are in that movement because they want to be effective in helping people in extreme poverty in the world to live better lives, or they want to reduce the vast amount of suffering that factory farms inflict on animals, or maybe they want to work on climate change and save the planet from heating up. There's a whole lot of issues that we have right now that are fairly concrete, and where I think we have perhaps a better sense of what we can do that will make an important difference, as well as the larger and more future-oriented issue about AI and the alignment problem.
The EA movement has been criticised by people like Peter Thiel, who see it as being intent on constraining the speed of AI development. Do you take criticisms like that seriously?
Well, I think Peter Thiel really needs to ask himself, if there is the danger that many people say there is of superintelligent AI taking us over and not being aligned with our values, then wouldn't you want to constrain the speed with which it develops, right? The urgency of having more and better AI isn't so great that we want to risk actually creating a master who enslaves us all, or even gets rid of us all because we're a nuisance by that superintelligent guiding lights. That's not the goal. The goal surely is to have AI which will contribute to a better life for all sentient beings on this planet.
Does how to do good in seeking a peace deal in Ukraine pose philosophical questions?
Yes, it does pose philosophical questions, and especially now with the suggestion that Ukraine should cede territory in order to achieve peace. Because, of course, I think it's clear that Russia was the aggressor. I think it's clear that that aggression was grossly morally wrong, that it's killed large numbers of people, including completely innocent civilians. But I would say all the Ukrainian troops who were trying to defend their territory and their nation were also really innocent morally. So on the one hand, you don't want to see that moral wrongdoing rewarded, but on the other hand, you do want to see the killing stopped. And it may be, as Russia is, of course, the much larger and ultimately more powerful nation, that the best we can hope for is a peace in which Ukraine does cede some of the territory, particularly the Donbass, let's say, which has many Russian-speaking people who would be happy to be part of Russia. And if it can then get security guarantees that this is not just going to be a bridgehead for further attacks in the next decade or so, I would think that is a reasonable thing to do, that the consequences of accepting that kind of peace would be better than the consequences of refusing to accept it. So in that sense, I'm on the utilitarian side. That is, I want to look at what will produce the best consequences and not simply what would be the most just outcome, which of course would be for the aggressor not to be rewarded in any way at all.
But in the Ukraine conflict and ending it or pausing it, utilitarianism seems to speak for a deal with a despot.
Yes, I think that is the unfortunate reality of the world we live in, that sometimes smaller, less powerful nations have to seek deals with despots and hope that those deals will hold, and of course try to get other nations, in this case particularly the Europeans, but perhaps also the United States, to give security guarantees that would prevent the despot continuing to aggress against that nation and to try to seize more of its territory.
Are you optimistic?
It is harder for me to be optimistic today than it was in the year 2000, for example. But I still retain the sense that these problems are soluble, and the hope that people of goodwill and of intelligence and resourcefulness will be able to see the problems in time and be able to coordinate their actions in order to avoid the catastrophic consequences that will otherwise occur.
Professor Singer, thank you for talking to Newsnight.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.